The name of the man that Norman Mailer got out of jail, he came to me yesterday when I was arriving back in my neighborhood. His name was Abbott. I don't remember his first name. Now, there was a famous comedy team named Abbott and Costello. And I've already told the story of how when we were down in Arizona trying to escape the Colorado winter, okay, and I didn't even know enough geography to know that Arizona borders on Mexico. I didn't know that. So these folks had let me know that there was an RV campground that they apparently liked. These folks was a one woman who was the daughter, the middle-aged daughter of the man who said he was the head of the, I don't want to say because, you know, he might sue me. Anyway, he was a man in, what do you call it, that business organization the cities have, whatever that's called. And he was somehow an official in that. And so I thought, oh, this is a trustworthy man. Not really, no. But anyway, he had a daughter, and the daughter was middle-aged. She was apparently, I think, divorced. And we were getting ready to leave there because that was in the Rocky Mountains, right? The town was called Howard, Colorado. There was no town at all. It was just like, that was the name of the area. There were just scattered houses in there. There was no town. It was outside the town of Salida. I remembered that, okay? So Salida was the nearest city, and I'm now forgetting what I was talking about. I'm in emotional blackout. This happens to me because I get talking, this is my theory, I get talking in here like I'm talking to a friend, and I don't have any friends. I can't trust a soul. So my mind reminds me after I talk a few minutes like everything's normal. My mind says, everything's not normal, AJ. Okay. Watch out. So let me put this on pause. Try to remember oh yeah. So we went down to this campground. I was following directions on my phone, but I never looked, for example, to see where, where we were headed to was like in relation to the larger picture. I just went by the directions, go to this route, turn right, go to that road, turn left, go 10 miles and so on. I did that without checking to see where the ultimate destination was, right? It was right near the border of Mexico, but as I said, I didn't even know that Mexico bordered on Arizona. I didn't know that. Honest to God. I would swear that on a Bible, on a Torah scroll, whatever you want. I did not know that. So, we're down there. We finally hit the RV campground, and I still don't know that. But right before we're going to go into the campground, there's one of those Border Patrol checkpoints. And I'm saying to myself, wow, I wonder why we must be near Mexico. And we go through this Border Patrol checkpoint, which is quite elaborate. It's not a small thing. It's like a toll interchange when you're going to enter on a toll highway in the United States. That's what the checkpoint is like. It's got, I guess, those officers who patrol the border, they're there. They even bring dogs around, big German shepherds, to sniff the cars and so on. So it's a scary place for somebody like me because I don't want more false accusations, right? My life has been wrecked by false accusations, so I don't want any more. So places like this with authorities are very scary to me. Okay, so we went through there. We got to the campground. So anyway, we get to this RV camp, and I don't want to go over the full story there, but my God, what we saw there in terms of secret police swarming around me was incredible. And anyway, I was watching a, what do you call these? Tape. I forget what they're called. VHS tape of Abbott and Costello I'd gotten in a used bookstore or Goodwill, something like that, for like $1 or 50 cents. And I was watching that in the trailer, okay, on our RV player. And then we decided, let's go to Home Depot. At this town, I can't remember the name. It's the town is like a Mexican word with X's in it. I can't remember it for the life of me. And I could hardly pronounce it. And so we went to this town, to the Home Depot. It's like right near the Mexican border. You can see Mexico. From where we were, you could see Mexico. So we get to the Home Depot, right? I've watched my Abbott and Costello tape. Now, first of all, Abbott and Costello are not popular at all anymore, okay? And nobody watches Abbott and Costello. They simply don't, okay? And this tape I had was old. A VHS tape, like, even by the time we were down there, like it was around 2020, 2019, 2020, right? Nobody watched even DVDs anymore by then, okay? We have a son, and we've seen him, and kids in his generation, what do they do? They get something online and they pay $4 to watch it. They want to watch a movie. I don't do that. If I want to watch a movie, I get the DVD or the VHS for 50 cents, and I can watch it over and over if I want on my player. My son is going to pay $4 every time he wants to watch a movie. This, to me, is not a good idea, but he doesn't watch that many movies, and I do. I'm a literary major, so I like to watch movies. So, as I say, Abbott and Costello, man, they're on an old VHS tape, and now VHS is long gone, and DVD is even gone, and I have this VHS tape, which I've watched in my trailer. Just me and my wife in there. My wife's deaf. So, on old tapes like that, they don't even have captions for the deaf, so she has no idea what I was watching. She doesn't know who Abbott and Costello are. She's from a foreign land, and she doesn't know Abbott and Costello. So, me alone. I'm the only one with this knowledge. So, we go to Home Depot, and we go in there, and we're going to go to the paint desk because my wife was thinking about repainting the interior of our trailer. Okay? So, we're going to look at the paints, and I go up to the paint desk to ask a question or two. And this man who doesn't look like a Home Depot type worker at all. Okay? What does he look like? He looks like a law enforcement member of one of those secret policing agencies. That's what he looks like. So as I'm coming up to the desk, here's what he's saying. He's saying like for me to hear, he's not talking to anybody. He's like he's talking to himself, and he's saying, well, I don't know about Abbott and Costello, but what Abbott and Costello are going to think about that. That's what he's saying. Now, we stayed in this RV park 1 week. There was so much of that kind of weird harassment. We couldn't tolerate it, and I left in a week. I left there, and I went back to Colorado, and we rented an apartment in Colorado Springs. Okay, so that's my introduction to talking about Abbott, which is the name of this man that Norman Mailer freed from prison somehow. And let me say that in the Abbott and Costello team, the comedy team, Costello was the fat, short, funny Italian guy, and Abbott was like the Englishman, straight man of the comedy team. So this guy Abbott was in prison for, I don't know, serious crimes of some kind. And he had started to write letters back and forth to Norman Mailer, and he had written a book, or maybe Norman Mailer helped him get his book published. I don't recall now. I used to know all of this. I had the whole thing, but I've been in solitary confinement now for over 40 years, so this kind of thing is very old in my experience, over 20 years ago. So I don't recall all the details of this one. So what happened with this Abbott guy? Norman Mailer got him out of prison, and now he was living in New York City. And one night he was outside a bar, and I believe he was taking a piss in an alley, and some man approached him. Maybe it was a man who was looking for a queer liaison. But this guy who'd been in the threatening world of prison for years and years somehow felt that this man coming toward him was threatening him, and he stabbed him and killed him. And he was convicted of murdering that man. Now, he went back to jail, and there was a huge uproar in the media against Norman Mailer for having got this man out of prison, who then murdered somebody not long after he'd been gotten out. And Norman Mailer was raked over the coals for having helped this guy. So I was thinking about this recently, having gone through what I've gone through over the past 10 years of 24-hour harassment by American secret police, and I don't know why. I don't know why it's happening. Honest to God, I don't. And so I'm saying to myself, if this could happen to me, a completely innocent person who doesn't commit crimes, that I'm not a spy, for God's sake. If anything, I'm a literary scholar and a creative writer who's now retired from a day job where I was a senior research analyst for a major labor union, okay? So this thing happening to me is so injurious to me and my wife. I'm saying it's worse than a hate crime, and it's life-threatening. So what appears to me to be happening here to me and my wife is probably what happened to this guy Abbott, because the authorities did not like that he got out of jail. So what did they do? They harassed the living hell out of this Abbott in ways they knew how to get to him, and they got him so upset and scared and paranoid that he did that. He stabbed this person because he was being harassed. That's my theory now. Now, at the time this happened, I had no such theory, because I had no such knowledge of this kind of harassment at that time. I hadn't experienced it, and so this didn't even occur to me. And I'm sure it did not occur to the press, who were raking Norman Mailer over the coals for having helped this guy. Okay? And he did help him. What Norman Mailer offered to this man was genuine help. I'm sure that Abbott was grateful to have gotten out of prison, got his book published, and so on. But as I say again, my theory now about what happened is the authorities did not like that he got out of prison, so they hounded him the way me and my wife have been hounded. And this guy Abbott, he didn't have a wife. Me and my wife, we have each other to support each other, and we have our son. Abbott was completely alone as far as I recall. He'd been in prison for years. So they got to him, and they wrecked the really good thing Norman Mailer had done. Now let me say finally that Norman Mailer apparently had a file on there was a file on Norman Mailer, whatever exactly that means. It means one of these secret policing agencies was investigating Norman Mailer. And this is incredible to me that I read this in a biography on Norman Mailer. Okay? Why, especially? Well, the textbook authority on American literature, okay, the literary history of the United States, edited by Lawrence Spiller. I'm talking about editions back 1979, 1978. How did they describe Norman Mailer? They describe Norman Mailer as America's greatest living writer. And America has secret police investigating the greatest living writer in America. That somehow makes sense? No, it does not. So, those are some of my thoughts on that. I'm saying that there you have the evidence that the secret police did not like Norman Mailer, and I'm getting mountain ranges of evidence of the harassment, and I'm calling it life-threatening and worse than a hate crime. It's approaching atrocity level. The harassment me and my wife have been suffering for 10 years now. I have all that evidence to tell me that Abbott did not just go haywire after being let out of prison. Even if he doesn't even realize it himself, he was hounded into doing what he did. That's my theory now. Today is I believe it's the 21st, maybe the 22nd of April 2026. Check the date here real quickly. Today is the 21st of April, and the time is 9:57 a.m. It's a Tuesday.